It'll go live today. All right, we are back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Friday Field Report. For those of you just joining us for the first time, welcome. My name is Will Dowling, Product Marketing Manager here at ConnectWise, and I have my awesome co-host with me. Vicky, do you want to tell everyone who might not know who you are?
I'm the Principal Product Marketing Manager for Ecosystems at ConnectWise. Yeah.
I love it.
And we're both on the same team.
Product
Marketing
great. I love
rocks.
being on the team with you.
Yeah, me too.
If you don't know, product marketing is easily the greatest team in ConnectWise. Tell everybody else, but love it. So, how's everything going with you? It's been a few weeks since we've chatted.
I know. Well, at the top of the show, we always have our witty or witless banner, which is always fun because you never know what's going on in our world. I've got my son's Spider-Man iPad right now with some fun facts for you. I just bought a walking treadmill to go underneath my desk, and it's the most amazing thing ever for twofold, right? It makes me healthier because I'm moving around when I'm on calls, and it also annoys some of the people that I work strategically with at ConnectWise, which is also a double win because they
I love it. That's double win ever. So you're gonna be walking 500 miles and then 500 more. Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing?
I had a donut yesterday from Dunkin' Donuts, and I walked for probably an hour after that. I was going very slow. I mean, it's like the pace is like you're very, very, very slow on this thing because I don't want to fall on my face, especially if I'm on a call with somebody. And I probably burned off a quarter of that donut, but still, it's all about the movement, folks. And I'll give you some fun facts, Will. And this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna get you to guesstimate like what the actual stat percentage is, okay? So from a mental health perspective, physically active people have X amount of reduced risk of becoming depressed. What do you think that percentage number is?
42.
30%. Good.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So if you move around more, then then you'll become less depressed. That is a fact. Oh, here's another one for all of you folks who we're obviously, most of us are in the working world who are tuning into this live stream. Walking can boost your creativity by what percent?
Go with good old 42 number. Again.
42? Okay, no, 60%. So if you're
that's even bigger than 42.
If you feel like you're getting bogged down, then go out for a walk, folks, because it can help you to unblock maybe some of the things that you're thinking about. So that's a good one, right? Yeah. Anyways,
Absolutely.
That's what's going on in my world. I'll let you know how the walking progression goes, but so far so good. Yeah. What about you?
If you do fall down, well, if you fall down, I do want to see the recording of that meeting just as a heads up, because I will laugh all the time. Supportively laugh. As far as me, I took my wife on a cruise last weekend, and it was amazing. So we were doing the exact opposite of you, and we ate our way through the cruise, and it was awesome. If you haven't done just a quick 3-day cruise, it's an amazing recharge. I feel like I took a week off of work and just feel great. Like, it was awesome.
Where'd you go?
We had fun. So we went down to the Bahamas. It was just, we went out of Port Canaveral down to the Bahamas, then to Coco Cay for a day, and back. And it was a lot of fun. It was very rejuvenating. So highly recommend if you haven't done that.
All right, awesome. That's great. Your microphone's kind of going in and out, but it's the Friday Field Report. You never know what's going to happen on live TV, but that's okay. So we have a very special guest that's joining us today, and John Helms. I love that he's always tuning in. 75% if you fall while walking. Yes,
I love it.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's happening. What are you working on at ConnectWise right now? Give us the scoop. I teased a little bit of the PSA and ASIO, which I know it's just a small project that you're working on right now.
It's just a little project. So We can go ahead if we want to pull up some slides for this. So yeah, currently we are in the process of taking all of our solutions and moving them onto our ASIO platform. Now, the nice thing about ASIO is it's not a new solution you have to buy. It is the, I guess you could call it the engine behind everything we're moving towards. So we have, almost 7,000 of our partners that are currently using products on ASIO, which is amazing. With that, there's also over 2.5 million endpoints being managed, and we've had over 1,200 partners currently in the PSA and ASIO preview. Giving feedback, kind of testing things out, and just seeing where we're going with everything, which is amazing. So that's my big thing right now, is moving everything and getting PSA on the ASIO platform into the hands of our partners. So it's a big lift, but it's going to be amazing. Because as we do that, we start to centralize everything. We start to bring everything together and really drive a better user experience across the board for every single solution that we have on the platform. So I'm excited. Maybe we'll do a deep dive into it here soon. So that's really kind of what's going on with me.
Okay. Well, can we do a little sneak peek about what we're going to talk about on the next Friday Field Report? Do we have the next slide?
I suppose we can. Yeah, I suppose we can. All right. So yeah, with ASIO and our PSA on the ASIO platform, we're also starting to drive new feature functionality. And we'll talk a little bit about where we're taking what we're doing with our existing best-in-class PSA and making it better. So this is where, we're doing things like, we've already got round robin ticketing. We've already got the ability to, really give you more comprehensive portals, drive better automation through integrations with ASIO workflows. Even be able to do net new feature functionality like resource planning with the scheduling assistant for things like ConnectWise projects to make it easier to make sure that your people are being utilized properly. So there's a lot that we're doing with this and a lot that's coming. So we're going to we'll deep dive into that probably next episode and really just kind of talk through what we're doing, because we want you to know about that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that, we talked a little bit about this on the show last week when we had Dan Scott on, but Security 360 and Backup 360 are also free if you're a partner.
Yes, they are.
Or an MSP that's looking at coming to ConnectWise, and those are also on the ASIO platform. So lots of great things there. Obviously, the PSA component of ASIO is going to be the next big thing. And from a vendor perspective, I know we've got a lot of vendors who are asking for updates on when would be a good time to come in. The answer is now, by the way. If you're a vendor, you're listening in, The answer is now. Make sure that you join our ConnectWise virtual community, the developer community, super active. There's a lot of great stuff in there. And that's where we're posting a lot of these API updates, including some webinars that we've done recently for vendors to know what you can hook into now. And then obviously, as we keep reporting on the Friday Field Report, we'll make sure that you know when those new functionalities are coming out. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the some upcoming webinars. We know that we've got a lot of content, a lot of updates. Yes, and so we're trying to make this a little easier, folks, less QR codes, and a little bit more of a holistic view of all of the insights that you can get. So with the ConnectWise webinars that are coming up, we have the, let's see, well, I'm going to talk to the ASIO pieces and the PSA pieces. So Will and I are going to be hosting a webinar on how to maximize your PSA potential with the ConnectWise ecosystem. So that webinar is coming up later in April, and we've got some great use cases that we want to talk to you about. We also have, well, of course, Peter Kujawa, who's going to be joining us here in a minute, and he's going to be talking about the compensation report, some key highlights. Yeah. But he's going to be doing a deeper dive on that webinar. Will, is there anything else that you would call out for some of the other pieces that are here that you're participating in? Most likely.
Oh, absolutely. So one, 100%. I want to call out the monthly product innovation webinar. If you have not started following that webinar series, you should. This is where basically we're giving the product teams a chance to get in front of you guys as partners to really talk about like what they're currently doing and what they're currently working on that's coming in the near future, recap some of the stuff that's been recently released, and really just start to drive a lot more of that awareness, because that's something we haven't really been great about in the past, is telling you like what's coming, what we're currently working on. And this is our way of being able to get in front of you and really kind of meet you in the middle, and help you to know what we're doing that's going to benefit you. Now, the other cool one that I see on here is mastering alert management. So that's going to be a really fun webinar, because if you can master your alerts, that makes your team a lot more quicker to respond, more proactive, and you can really start to mature what you're doing. So definitely catch that one as well.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Will. And then I think we talked about this one last week on our Friday Field Report, but there's also the ASIO Certified Integration webinar that you should check out. So again, just scan that QR code, it'll get you there, so that way you can have access to all of the upcoming recordings or upcoming live webinars, as well as the past recorded content. So it's a great place to go. All right, so we have a guest who is joining us today, Will. I said earlier, the man who needs no introduction in my LinkedIn post. So Peter Kujawa, who is the head of the IT Nation team, as well as service leadership, is here joining us today. How you doing, Peter?
Great, Vicki. Hey, Will. How are you?
Hey,
it's going, Peter. We're doing great.
It's glad to have you, man.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's always a fun one for me to join in on.
I love your field there.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the greenery behind you. We know that this is a virtual background. So what is the weather really like in your neighborhood right now? Is it raining? Is it beautiful?
Actually, the weather is great here today. It's for the end of March in Wisconsin. We're supposed to break a record. It's supposed to be 81 here today. So our golf course opened yesterday. Not that I would know from personal experience, but yeah, spring has arrived here. This is not an actual, I'll burst the bubble. This is a picture from last summer, I think, that I uploaded. But so our trees, while spring has arrived, our trees do not look like this, nor does my lawn. But it's a beautiful, stunning day. The sky does look like that today.
Do your mowers still create those nice manicured lines on your lawn? Because I have mad respect for the lawns that I pass in my neighborhood that look like that.
Yeah, I could tell you that they're my mowers, Vicki, but that would be a massive lie. But the mowers of the company that I hire to mow our lawn does in fact create this. Yes.
All right. I love it. I love it. Well, listen,
I tried doing that once.
Oh, you did?
Didn't work out. I made the curviest straight lines ever.
I actually grew up on a tractor with a bush hog, so I used to mow our fields all the time, like 10 acres, and it was a lot of fun. My lines were not that clean either, but if you need me to come up there with our John Deere, just let me know, Peter. It'll probably be a little drive
Actually, I'm sure all the viewers will be fascinated by this story. But when we moved here 15 years ago, I loved mowing the lawn at our previous house. Our lawn there was about a little under a half an acre, and it was pretty flat. And so it took me about 3 hours or so with a push mower, and it was great. I made so many business decisions doing it.
Oh, no.
We moved here.
Oh, there you are.
We moved here and had over an acre, and it was hilly, as you can see. And so just decided at that point that we needed to temporarily, for that summer, hire somebody to mow it, and until I could buy a rider mower. But they only charged me like $50 a week. So I just couldn't make the math work. Yeah. So to this day, they're still mowing my lawn 14 years later. So.
Well, you are the math guy, so please tell us a little bit about some of the reasons why you're here today. We've got a lot to cover. Where do you want to start, Peter?
Yeah, so we had IT Nation London a couple of weeks ago, and that was great. We have IT Nation Secure coming up in June, and registration's open for that. That's going to be a really, really enhanced experience from previous Secures. Things like we are curating all of the content for the entire thing. So all the sessions will be a bit more custom designed. We are going to have an opening night keynote that we'll be announcing soon that is going to be radically different. We'll have a panel of 4 security experts from 4 different companies, including one from ConnectWise. Patrick Beggs, our CISO, will be up there, but stay tuned. In the next week, you'll see that announcement. So rather than just me getting up there and talking, or Manny getting up there and talking, we're going to do a half-hour panel from these names that are well-known in the industry on cyber. And so it should be a really great event, but the content throughout, it's going to be much more hands-on, and it's going to be just an amazing event. So make sure you get registered there. We have an early bird going right now. And then service leadership. We had our Q1 newsletter that we came out with.
Can I ask a question real quick, Peter? Tell me about the challenge coins. Do we have another challenge coin at IT Nation Secure this year?
Oh yeah, we will have another challenge coin this year, and we're working on the cipher and all of those fun things. So yeah, it's going to be just a great event. There's going to be a hands-on area, theater, hacker areas of sorts that you'll hear announcements coming on. And we've cut ticket prices, just like we did with London, and we're going to be doing it with Secure and the rest of our events this year. One of the first decisions that we made when I came on board was to cut ticket prices about 40%. So we want not only the owner of the MSP or the executives at the MSP, but we want them to feel comfortable bringing their team again. I heard a lot of feedback from MSPs that, I used to like coming to your events and bringing 1, 2, 3 of my people with them, but you just made it too expensive for me. Well, we fixed that. So
there you go. That's proof that we're taking the feedback and actually implementing it and making sure that we have a broad audience of the technicians and the business owners and at IT Nation Secure. I love hearing that. And I love that we're going to have the workshops. I'm working with Microsoft on what we're going to do for their workshop because they're sponsoring, and we have some pretty cool ideas of how to get some technicians in the room. And that's going to be a great event. So sorry, I interrupted you when you were.
Well, there's going to be a lot of announcements coming. Follow, make sure you're following IT Nation and ConnectWise and on LinkedIn, Service Leadership on LinkedIn. We'll have a lot of announcements on Secure coming over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know Manny has some big announcements on the product side as well that I've kind of gotten to see the inside scoop on. So yeah, from a product and community perspective, make sure that you stay tuned, folks. All right, so Peter, tell us a little bit about the service leadership piece. I know you were getting into that, and then I interrupted you to go back to Secure. Oh, and Will's joined us again from closer at the house.
Closer to the house.
Back, Will.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, awesome.
So
go ahead, Peter.
So service leadership, as you know, we announced back in December that we combined service leadership and IT Nation's teams together. And one of the big advantages of that for me and for our viewing audience is more content. So we now have a content team run by Brad Scow that unites the service leadership thought leadership piece with the IT Nation thought leadership piece. And they're already doing a great job of generating content. So we did a Q1 newsletter that dropped on March 11th, so a couple weeks ago. That date was not an accident. That date was 5 years to the day from when we think lockdowns really officially kicked in. 5 years ago to the day on March 11th was when the NBA canceled the season and when the NCAA announced that they were shutting down the tournament, and all of those things that you'll think back now 5 years ago. It's hard to believe, first of all, that it's been 5 years, but
half a decade.
But we decided to go. We decided to go back and tell a story that we thought really needed to be told that wasn't being told, and that was the story of how MSPs saved the business community, particularly the SMB community. And when we say saved, we really mean it. I mean, you go back and look at the data. there were tens of millions of SMB employees that I'm convinced would not have been able to make the shift to work from home. Certainly not in the span of time that they needed to make that shift if it wasn't for the MSP industry. And the MSP industry stepped up. They did it at a time that was incredibly stressful for MSP owners and employees too. And they stepped in and saved the day for tens of millions of employees all over the world. So our newsletter tells that story. It's kind of fun going back and looking at the data around it and reflecting nostalgically, which we now can 5 years later. But the other thing that's important is this newsletter, the second half of it really focuses in on what to do to be prepared for the next time, because whether it's some pandemic or something else, there will be a next time. And so you want to be ready for it. And we updated our resiliency planning guide, and so you can get a free copy of that as well. So that was our Q1 newsletter. Q2's newsletter, make sure you follow Service Leadership. You go to the website, sign up for newsletters. They're free, so you'll get them automatically. And if you do, Q2's newsletter will be coming out in late May, focused on security and compliance.
Perfect. And also, if you're not following Service Leadership on LinkedIn yet, make sure that you're doing that as well, because a lot of those updates and a lot of those notices go out on social. So, Peter, I remember the valuation of Zoom going just through the roof when COVID happened, and all the other security issues that came with that. So to your point, 5 years ago was a while ago, but not long enough for us to remember how tough it was for this community and for the world.
Yeah, my favorite Zoom video security issue ever was the one of the lawyer who forgot that he left his cat filter on, and he went in to a virtual hearing with the judge and opposing counsel. I'm real. I'm here. I'm not a cat. I love that.
Yes, that was really good.
It's one of my favorites as well.
One of the highlights during the pandemic. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Service Leadership Compensation Report too. So we've got some details on that. 40% off, Peter. Wow. 40% off of IT Nation pricing and off of the compensation report.
Good stuff. We're all about value, Vicki. So our comp report is an annual report. You can get it for 100% off if you provide us your data, and that window will open up again October 1st to the end of November for any MSP out there, any TSP VARs too, to go in and enter their comp data. And that's worldwide.
Love that.
So we got about 75% of our data from the US this year, and the rest was from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and Canada. So we've got local data. We've got, we benchmark over 50 different common positions. What's really neat about this report, though, is there's two things that we have that are really unique. I haven't seen them in any other similar report. Number one is all of our data comes from other TSPs. We don't have any data coming from enterprise, from government, IT, from the normal sources that tend to pollute the data set when you're looking at, if you're an MSP and you're trying to really understand MSP specific data. This is it. This is all very specific to our industry. The second thing that's unique is because we have profitability data, we're able to run a bunch of slices that look at the correlation between how companies are paying their people and profitability. So what is it that the best in class is doing differently to pay their people versus the bottom quartile? And so we have about 100 or so pages of analysis on that you'll find. Things like how much incentive pay is being paid as a percentage of pay by the best in class compared to the median and bottom quartile. There's a lot of really, really interesting stuff in there about that. But this year we also added a new field that we asked about, and that was employee churn. So there's about 10 to 15 pages of analysis about employee churn based on staff positions, management positions. Is there any difference on tenure and churn, et cetera? So really, really interesting data.
That is really interesting. Question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Will.
I was just going to ask, was there anything that like really surprised you that you were seeing this year? Anything that was just like super outstanding that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, there's always some things that pop off the page at you when you go through and look at the data. So I would give you two. One was we were really pleasantly surprised by continuing deflation and top level increases. So wage inflation clearly peaked in most markets in 2022. And we knew it was coming down, but the projection for the drop for 2025 was much more than we expected, coming off of a year where it already had dropped in 2024. So that's really, really positive for MSP managers. That's staying ahead of wage inflation that was really running hot in 21, 22, and 23, to a lesser degree in 23. But that's really tough to maintain top level profitability and gross margin when wages are going up that fast. So that was good to see. The other really interesting one was because we asked about employee churn for the first time, we had some theories going into that. And typically we've said at an MSP, your staff churn is going to run about 15 to 20% per year. And our data showed that for new staff members that are 3 years or less experienced, that's about right. Is about 21%. What surprised us was that newer managers, their churn was almost as high as staff positions. So you think, I guess I thought going into the data set that it would be much lower, that I'm promoting somebody into a manager position or hiring somebody as a first-time manager, that they clearly have some additional capabilities that I've seen in them, that they're likely to stay on for a while and not churn. Our data said that that's not true, that manager turnover in the first 3 years is almost as high as staff turnover. So that was really interesting data as well.
I wonder if that provides perhaps an opportunity for the IT Nation to educate maybe new managers. I remember when I came into management for the first time ever, I had no freaking clue what I was doing. And I think it was relying on other people, right, to tell me how I could structure things and run the team efficiently and advocate for everyone. But yeah, I'm sure that there's probably maybe blueprints or things that out there that we could leverage to help, managers and those newer positions to stick around a little bit longer, Huh.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We could definitely look at doing some sessions on that. It's definitely a need. I mean, I think I was reflecting when I reviewed the data. Yeah, I always look back on when I was running an MSP, which I did for 11 years. And I always reflect on my experience, first of all, and then I think about other partners I'm working with. And I think all of us, we promote somebody into a management position. Our expectation is they're going to be able to step in that position and hit the ground running, right? I mean, we have a need. We need some leadership in that area. I think this person is capable of being a leader. They should be able to go in and run right away. Well, I don't have that expectation when I'm hiring a new employee off the street that they're going to be able to tomorrow start answering calls or emails for my customer base. I'm going to put them into a ramp up period of maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks where they're going to go through a bunch of training. They're going to learn our systems, our processes. I'm going to probably assign them a mentor, and that mentor is going to meet with that person over a period of months. So I'm going to do all these things to help that person make this shift into an entry-level staff position. Yet I'm not going to do those things with a new manager, right? It doesn't make any sense, but I don't think too many people do. And so the data says if you don't, they're going to turn over.
This is why the data is king. The data is king. So, Peter, it's always great having you on the show. Before we close this segment, can you tell us again, what is the British term of the compensation report? Because I'm not going to try to say it myself, but Dan Scott told us that compensation has a different meaning in the UK than it does in the US.
Yes, it's remuneration. And so you'll hear it in different markets referred to as a remuneration report, a compensation report, a wages report. So yes, it's fascinating. In Europe, compensation is what you get paid after a lawsuit win, apparently.
Yeah,
So
that's what Dan told us.
our report does not cover that, for the record.
Right. Awesome.
So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, the more
By
that
the
you
way,
learn, I mean, this.
for the international folks, we do show localized data sets. This year, we got 3 times the data set out of Australia. It was awesome. So that allowed us to carve up Australia into 5 different states. So now we have data that shows the difference between Melbourne and Sydney and Perth. And so the more data that we get submitted, the more we can carve it up. We also do currency conversion, which is really cool. So yeah, the data set's really relevant no matter where you are. It's a very valuable report.
Awesome. So everybody, what are you waiting for? Make sure that you go and you download the compensation report today. Make sure that you join Peter on the upcoming, I think it's on Monday, right, Peter? The compensation report webinar debrief.
I believe
So
so.
yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, some more details to come there. Peter, we always appreciate having you on the show. We would love to have you back on as we're getting closer to IT Nation Secure, or maybe Matt Topper or some others who are going to be there on the keynote stage. Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we'll even get Manny on. We haven't had Manny on the show yet. So we've got a checklist of items and people that we would definitely want to bring on to bring you all the greatest news to the ConnectWise and IT Nation communities. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us today. Will, I know you had some windy issues.
Nice to see you, Vicky and Will.
Yeah.
If I don't get blown away, I'll be back next time. It is so windy here.
I know. It's crazy windy here too. But yeah, so everybody, we'll see you on April 11th. I think that's going to be the next time that we get together for the Friday Field Report. And until then, have a great weekend and stay tuned. Bye.